Tash, Zack, and Uncle Hool stop on the planet Ethor for supplies, including a mineral the Shroud needs for its engines. The mineral isn't available on Ethor, but one of the Ethorians knows where they can find it. On a mining colony in the middle of a space slug-filled asteroid belt. The journey to the colony is filled with many dangers, but nothing prepares Hool, Tash, and Zack for what they meet when they reach their destination. An ancient life form has been released from its tomb. It has lurked there, waiting for many years. It cannot be seen. It is made from pure evil, and its name is Spore.
Hello, younglings, and welcome. It's the spookiest of months. That's right, it's October.
Yes.
So that means it's Galaxy of Fear month here in the library. This is Padawan Library, of course, the only Star Wars Junior novel podcast. I am Levi Paratic, and with me, as always, is Tim May.
Hello.
And
Greetings.
how are you, Tim? Dark greetings.
Dark greetings, sure. I'm doing okay.
It's Fear month.
Today, I did a lot of reading today, including the book we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And I also read Amazing Spider-Man 850. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
New issue came out yesterday. It's a big, 70-page story. It's the culmination of an arc that's been going on the last couple months. And, listen. Okay. I know nobody cares, probably listening to this. Maybe there's some Spider-Man fans that listen to this show. I just want to say something. This run, which is by writer Nick Spencer, and a gaggle of artists, began about in July of 2018. So, over 2 years ago. And it began very promisingly. I was very into it for the first year or so. But introducing the first issue of this, and now we're really more like 70 issues in because there's weird specials and stuff all the time, but 50 issues in officially. Okay?
Okay.
And introduced at the end of the first issue of this run in July of 2018 is a new mysterious villain. Okay? Called... And this villain, we don't know their identity, okay? But it's clearly supposed to be probably somebody that we are familiar with. And so then they're building up all this stuff, and then around issue 25 of this run, it's kind of building up. It's big special issue 25. And you're like, okay, we're going to find out who this person is. It's been a year, Mm-hmm. This was, July of last year, maybe. And I was like, okay, that's excited. I'm excited. Let's find out. What we found out was the name of this villain is Kindred. Their villain name. So that's all
Kindred, okay.
That's all we found out. I was like, okay, well, maybe it won't be that long before we find out more about Kindred. Then Kindred basically disappears from the book for several arcs. And then when Kindred came back at the beginning of this arc. That concluded in this issue, which is a big anniversary issue, 850th issue of Amazing Spider-Man. So I was like, it's been 50 issues of this run. We're going to find out who Kindred is. And it's a big 70-page special. I was like, it's going to happen. It didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
And not just it didn't happen, Kindred just, it's a whole story, and, Norman Osborn's involved, Green Goblin, etc. And then, at the end of the issue, Kindred shows up and is just like, that's not all, Peter. Like, he doesn't show up with Peter, he's just talking to himself, like he always does at the end of every issue, ominously. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? It's been over 2 years! It's ridiculous!
I'm getting a good laugh out of this.
I know! Listen, I love Spider-Man, and this run has been refreshing because there was one writer on the book for 10 fucking years before, and his run had grown quite stale, although it began very promisingly. Dan Slott shouts to him. But this Nick Spencer run, I was like excited about it, and now it's like they just need to get on with it. I need to know who Kindred is. I need them to just move on.
Kindred to Lamar.
Kindred Lamar. Good lord. I don't know. It just, I was... Levi, it upset me.
I can tell.
It upset me. So, yeah. I mean, I think this book's still pretty good. It sounds probably angrier than, I am angry. I'm not angry. I don't sound angrier than I actually am, because I am angry about it. But my anger probably would make people think that I think this is like a terrible comic, but it's not. Like, even this issue I thought was actually pretty good as an individual issue. But it's like, stop stringing me along with this bullshit. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of it, Nicholas. Okay. Moving on.
Oh, boy. Well, have you been in the Halloween spirit, Tim? I'll ask you that.
Not particularly. I've been watching lots of Star Trek, but also I watched, like, Gangs of New York this week. I'm
nice.
Completely not in, like... like, I haven't seen Gangs of New York, like, since it came out, and I was like, fuck. That movie's good as hell.
That movie rules.
I mean, I've always liked it, but it's just like... It's kind of thought of as minor Scorsese, and it is, I guess, but some of that... some of those sets and, like... Good lord, just watching that shit on Blu-ray blew me away.
Well, speaking of seeing a movie in high definition, that, like, sometimes seeing it in high definition, like, changes your perception of the movie. I got home... I'll say that, people, just so you know, I'm home now. I'm stationary for the time being in Pennsylvania.
Congrats.
But my local theater was playing a movie I love, Nightmare on Elm Street. Wait, let me rephrase that. A Nightmare on Elm Street. I gotta get the title right.
Oh, sure.
But it had been a long time since I've seen it, and also, I've only ever seen it on the box set DVD, which I feel like isn't like a great transfer of the movie to begin with.
Probably
like
not.
It always seems kind of fuzzy to me. Also, too, there was this weird issue where if you tried to watch the movie in widescreen, the commentary would be on, so you could only watch the movie in full screen. So weird. But anyway, I saw Nightmare on Elm Street. Going into it, I'm thinking, oh, this movie might be corny. It might not live up to my expectations.
Are you a freak? Like, what the hell?
The movie blew my...
Obviously, it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, the movie blew my fucking pants off. So, seeing it in a theater was insane because they had the volume turned up. So, the movie opens with Freddy, of course, constructing the glove. And, of course, it's like 3 minutes of him going... And then he does the glove, and then the bass drops on the score. There's this huge bass drop, and the title card hits the screen. It fills the entire screen. A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I was just like, "Holy shit, we are in for a ride!"
It's a perfect movie. One of the great.
It's a perfect.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest, and I think like very underrated in terms of influence. Not underrated. Like, people love the movie, obviously, but like. That movie, I don't think, has that much to do with other slasher movies.
I agree.
And I think its influence was on kind of a different type of horror movie.
I agree.
Like fantasy horror, basically.
Because so much of it is a dream, and you're wondering, am I in a dream? Am I not? And not only that too, but I was blown away by the score of the movie, and so many of the moments of high tension are driven entirely by the score of the movie, and it almost feels like music video-esque at time. And oh my god, and it heightens so much. Like when Tina is being pulled up the wall and onto the ceiling. that on the big screen, that terrified the hell out of me. Like, I walked away from that movie and I was like, that is one of the scariest movies I have ever seen. And I've seen this movie countless times, and it is absolutely frightening.
Yeah,
so.
it's incredible. I mean, I'm a huge fan of that, like, as a franchise. Like, as far as slasher movie franchises go, I think it's easily the best. Like, because there's, I think, at least 2 other movies in the series that are actually good. So that helps.
Right. Part 3 in Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Yeah. Obviously, goes without saying that those are the good ones. Although I like 2 a lot more than some people do.
2, I think
the
2
last half hour is a
appreciation.
disaster, but the first hour is incredible. Just truly.
Freddy kills a bird in that movie. It's like the only time he kills like an animal, but like he makes a bird literally explode.
But yeah, I think it's become very like hip amongst horror people to say that 3 is the best one, like better than the first movie. And while I love 3, I think that's kind of just horseshit. The first movie is like so well made. Like
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, and I'll say this because 3 is like what like is a fair representation of what Freddy became, like a wisecracker, the guy who you like root for. But in the first movie, he is like outright terrifying. Like he is the boogeyman,
he's so,
and like and his design, you know, in later movies, I feel like Freddy like dried up. Like
well, they needed something that I think they could apply. Because Robert Englund's on screen so much more in the later movies.
That's true.
So it's probably like just like because the makeup in the first movie is, I think, a lot better. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Because the later stuff looks more like it's just a mask. Like, you know what I mean?
He looks like because he is like a burn victim. Like, it actually looks like he has skin and he's like kind of oozy and that kind of thing. Yeah. I know Robert Englund told a story once about how on Freddy vs. Jason, because they did those underwater scenes, that like the glue they used for the prosthetics like wasn't water soluble, and he was sweating glue like for days afterwards.
Oh my god, that sounds disgusting.
It sounds so disgusting. That sounds so bad. Can you imagine, trying to, like, blow your nose and the tissue sticking to your face or whatever? But, and the mom in the movie she is so, like, she's, like, a great, like, you could tell she's, like, a great mom, but she's also, like, dealing with the fact that, like, oh my god, my child is having nightmares of the man I murdered. Like, me and a bunch of parents murdered, and, like, she's drinking the entire movie.
I know, it's crazy. I mean, Heather Langenkamp, underrated also.
I agree.
It's unfortunate she didn't have, like, a great career outside of Nightmare on Elm Street, but it's like, she's fantastic in that movie. Mm-hmm. That's a great performance.
And I think what attests to her is the fact that, like, she's in New Nightmare as well, and she's great in New Nightmare.
She's fantastic in that. She's great in 3 also. Mm-hmm. There you go. There's the through line. There's another.
The through line.
Craven is the other through line. He co-wrote 3, so that.
Yeah.
Or wrote the story or something. Anyway, but yeah, my ranking of Nightmare on Elm Street goes 1, 3, New. Mm-hmm. Then I go 2.
This is where it gets murky.
2.
Yeah. Yeah.
4. Freddys Dead, which is 6, and then 5 at the bottom.
See, I need to rewatch the sequels, but I watched Never Sleep Again, the big documentary.
Fantastic documentary. 4 hours, just so deep.
I agree. And they talked they talked up 5 so badly
5
that I wanted to see 5.
So weak. They talk. I don't know. I could see the argument that 4 is the worst because 4 is basically just a remake of 3. Like it's pretty straightforward. But I think it's like just a more well-made movie than 5. I forgot Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah, I forgot Freddy vs. Jason.
I have complex feelings on that. First of all, I'm not a big Friday the 13th guy, like at all. Mm-hmm. I barely like it, honestly. Like, I like a couple movies okay, but
Friday the 13th is, like, you mentioned, like, how Freddy breaks, like, he's not, like, Nightmare on Elm Street is not representational of, like, a slasher, like, necessarily, but, like, Friday the 13th is. Friday the 13th
it's the prototypical one, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like. I wouldn't say Halloween's the prototypical slasher because it's too good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a prototypical slasher movie is like, yeah, Friday the 13th Part 2 is probably like, if you want like, that is like dead center, like, that's like what, if you want to give people an idea of like what that whole era was, I think that's the movie, honestly. But I don't like those movies though, really, and I'm not a huge slasher guy, honestly. Like, there's a lot of slasher movies individually that I like, but it's not like my genre. But Freddy vs. Jason, I liked it a lot at the time.
Same.
I've only seen it one other time when I rewatched the Nightmare movies in like, I don't know, like 2011 or 2012. So it's been a long time. I remember when I rewatched it, I found it did not hold up super well.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, there's some like problematic stuff, but whatever. It's a fucking slasher movie.
I think it's the teens. Well, first off, the teens aren't teens. They're all definitely way too old.
Well, like,
and, like,
isn't the one girl played by the one girl from Undeclared, which was a college show that happened like years before?
Yeah, it is. And the one girl, of course, is Kelly Rowland of
from Destiny's Child, who was like, who had like just broken up, so it was like late stage Destiny's Child.
Yeah, she's definitely not a high school student.
I don't know. I don't know. It's fun, but I also just, I
think
it's entertaining enough. But that's
the movie fails in the teen aspect, and that's the problem because the teens are the center of the story. But the Freddy Jason stuff, I think, all delivers. Especially the final battle between Freddy and Jason is like one of the is as great as Frankenstein meeting the Wolfman in terms of like it's up there in terms of like monsters meeting and like
it's not that's nowhere near as good a movie though. Frankenstein meets the Wolfman's awesome. The last 20 minutes of that movie with the castle coming down is basically as cool as it gets. Have you seen that one?
I have seen it, but I need to see it again.
I wasn't sure if it was one of the ones you saw at the drive-thru.
No, my God, I wish.
Yeah, that movie's incredible. The final set piece of Frankenstein meets the Wolfman just rules.
Friend of the show, Sam,
it's one of his favorite movies.
Yeah, he said something about I love Lon Chaney Jr. in the sequels because he is whiny in every single movie. Like he's just like, oh, why does this happen to me? But
I can see that. Yeah.
What's funny in the Wolfman is the fact that oh crap, what's his name? Invisible Man.
Claude Rains.
Claude Rains plays Lon Chaney Jr.'s dad, and there is such a difference physically between those two men that it's like, especially in height, it's just like who was his mother? Yeah, in order for
Amazon woman.
Yeah, she 100% was.
I don't know. I should watch some horror movies. I kind of have a stack of. I wasn't even thinking of it being October. I have a stack of Blu-rays that I'm trying to work my way through. Just some rewatches, some things I haven't seen. Like I've been meaning to watch that Man from U.N.C.L.E. movie from a few years ago, which I've always heard is very solid. So I'm gonna watch that.
Nice.
I picked up Inside Man for $3 on Blu-ray at the grocery store. And I was like, I haven't seen this movie in a while. I love Inside Man. I don't know.
I haven't been watching a lot of horror movies, but I did start watching What We Do in the Shadows. The TV
show?
Series.
How is it?
It is funny. I don't think it's better than the TV show.
Than the movie, you mean?
Than the movie, but the show is fine. The show is basically The Office with vampires, in my opinion. But there's been moments that have been just so fun. There's this character named Nandor, and Nandor he's about to have a fight with a werewolf, and he's overlooking Staten Island, and he's got this lackey, his familiar, and Nandor's overlooking the city, and he goes, "It's a good night to die." And his familiar goes, "But master, I don't want you to die." He goes, "No, not me, the other guy." But yeah, it has its moments. So
yeah, I'm gonna watch it eventually. But...
Wesley Snipes makes a cameo in an episode. Yeah, it's real. I'll tell you this.
I wish I didn't know. That's so incredible.
Listen to the cameos in this one episode. the entire cast of the movie, like the three guys from the movies.
Great.
Tilda Swinton.
Incredible.
Evan Rachel Wood.
Oh, okay. I see where it's going.
Paul Rubens.
Okay.
Dave Bautista.
Don't quite get that one.
And Wesley Snipes. So,
I got all the other ones. They all famously played vampires and other things.
Who did Paul Rubens?
He's in the Buffy movie.
Play? Oh, okay. I have never seen the Buffy movie.
But then, and then who was the other one?
Tilda.
Tilda's in Only Lovers Left Alive. So is Evan Rachel Wood, right?
Yes. Oh, I didn't know that.
Isn't she in that? Am I wrong about that?
She must be in that. I don't know.
I might be wrong on that. I saw that movie once, around when it came out. So
that movie rules, by the way.
Really good
like
movie.
That movie. Yeah. Really good Jarmusch. Most Jarmusch is good.
But that's easily his best from the last 15 years.
I agree. But I just saw JJillionaire with Evan Rachel Wood.
Oh, I've heard that's good.
It is good, so I'd give it a solid 4 stars. Some people would probably give it 5. I gave it 4. So, but
I've seen that director. I've only seen her first movie, but I saw it when it came out way back. Me and you and everyone we know.
Okay.
Came out in 2005. You don't remember that? Oh, yeah. I guess you wouldn't remember that.
No, I wouldn't, because I didn't know movies in 2005.
Yeah, that was a pretty big indie movie.
I didn't know movies till 2011 when I started hanging out with you.
Yeah, obviously. But no, sorry. That was a pretty big indie movie in 2005. And I remember I liked that movie. I remember a friend of ours hated that movie at the time.
Dan?
Yeah. Yeah, who else would I be talking about? Not my brother, the other Dan. We talked about him last week, I think.
Yeah, last week.
But yeah, no, or 2 weeks ago, I don't remember. So yeah, it was, I haven't seen it in years, but I remember liking it, and she's only made one movie since then, I think, in between, so she's not super prolific, but I heard JJillionaire is good, though.
Brad Pitt was an executive producer.
Well,
on JJillionaire.
It's probably just his company, Plan B. They make tons of movies.
Yeah,
they make really good movies. Actually, I'm sure it's really his producing partner that does the actual producing, but he has good taste. But yeah, no, I don't know. I'm trying to think if I've watched anything else. Yeah, no, just Gangs of New York. Thought about that for a while.
A lot of Star Trek. So
you know what's underrated about Gangs of New York?
What?
Everything besides Daniel Day-Lewis, because Daniel Day-Lewis is great. I'm not saying he's overrated. He's awesome. Right. But I remember at the time the big complaint was because this was Leo's first I'm a grown-up movie, if you remember at the time, I remember
and this is his first movie with Marty, too.
Yeah, it was his first Scorsese movie. He made The Beach after Titanic. And then this was the next movie he made. It got delayed a year, so it came out around the same time as Catch Me If You Can. Great year for him. But but this was the first real big adult project. Mm-hmm. And I remember the tack on that movie, the way people talked about it was well, Leo can't hang. You know what I mean? Leo can't hang. That was the kind of, and that's just kind of bullshit. He's really good in that movie. That's a very good performance. It's not his best performances to me are The Aviator, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Wolf of Wall Street. Those I think are and Titanic in its own way, but that's kind of a separate. That he was a different actor then. But to me, those are the three all time performances he's given. It's not on that level, but it's still. And Catch Me If You Can too. By the way, also
I forgot about Catch Me If You Can. He so hangs in Catch Me If You Can.
Nobody I think ever people were well, this is a lighter role, a lighter performance. This is what he's good at. And I will say that's something I wish he did more often. That's part of why I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood so much, because I just thought he was doing classic pre-Scorsese Leo stuff, like, but as an older guy, and that's why I enjoyed that. But and he just turned on the charm a little bit in that movie in a way he hasn't in a while. Like, it's like, but I also really like him, the being a serious boy. You know what? Mm-hmm. Well, the scene with
I was about to say the girl actress.
That's one of the best scenes ever. That scene's
I
so
agree.
good. Thank you. We came together finally on something related to that movie.
But I could see like why at the time he'd be overshadowed, because Daniel Day-Lewis won Best Actor for that movie.
He didn't, no, but he was nominated, and he hadn't been in a movie in like 5 or 6 years at that point. So I think that's part of it. Also, the other person who got shit on for that movie was Cameron Diaz, who's really good in that movie. Like, and like Cameron Diaz is like a performer who, like, I think people just maybe forget she exists now because she seems to have kind of retired.
She has retired, yeah,
which is a bummer to me, but. You know, I'm kind of hot and cold on her. Sometimes I do find her pretty annoying, but like, I love her in like I love her like in the '90s comedies. She's great in those movies. But then like, but this is like I think easily her best dramatic performance. She's great in that movie. Like, it's just a fantastic performance. And like,
it's funny.
Yeah, like Henry Thomas from E.T., like all grown up, is like one of Leo's boys in the gang, and you got like. You got, like, fucking, and just the production design in Gangs of New York, dude.
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking wild how good it is. That movie was nominated for 10 Oscars and lost all of them.
That's insane.
Lost production design. I don't know what won. I honestly, like, that seems insane to me. They built that whole fucking block from the ground up, basically. And it looks insanely good. It's like, it's one of the last, like, great epics where, like, you don't have, like, CGI set extension. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, like, everything's on screen. You're just, like, you're like, I'm luxuriating in this right now.
That's such a lost, like, movie art form, too, of just, like, building entire sets.
It's so rare. Like, the only movie of recent years, and I hate to bring it back again, but is that they did it was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like I can't think of another, like, big period piece, like, drama or comedy or whatever, like from the last several years, a studio movie where it's like not like they built like one storefront and then had like set extension, like you know, like, and it's just like I get it, it's cheaper, and I don't want to like sometimes that can still look like, you know, I love David Fincher, and Zodiac is Zodiac I think is one of the best movies of the century. I know that's another movie we famously disagree on, which you are an absolute psychopath. But that movie kind of innovated the whole set extension thing, and it looks fine in that movie. But but you know what? You know who's good at a lot of things that most people can't pull off? David Fincher. You know what I mean? Like, he's the master of digital photography, and it's not that nobody else does it well, but like. That doesn't mean that, like, your average cinematographer, average director is going to, like, be able to just make digital look great, you know? Just because it's, like, a fucking genius is good at it, you know?
Yeah. You know, he stands out, Michael Mann stands out.
Well, Mann created a whole new language, man. You know, Miami Vice, baby. One of the greatest movies in the last 20 years. Miami Vice. I mean that totally. Okay.
It's a shame Cameron Diaz is retired. I believe her last movie was I was thinking it was The Other Women, that movie she did with
Leslie Mann
and Kate Upton. That movie.
Maybe it was. I don't know if it came out the same year. I know she was in the Annie remake.
Or was that her Bad Teacher? Or
it's definitely not Bad Teacher. Annie
or was it Sex Ed with Jason Sudeikis? Not Jason
Segel.
Sudeikis. Jason Segel.
No, those movies I think came before the Annie remake. At least I think you might be right about The Other Woman. That's a rough run there at the end.
That is a rough.
I actually don't hate the Annie remake. It's fine. I saw it.
I didn't see it.
There's a couple decent sequences.
Is it a musical?
Yeah. It's just the musical, but with like, it's the same saying just like new arrangements of the songs that kind of sound like the Jay-Z Hard Knock Life, basically, But Jay-Z should have played the Jamie Foxx Daddy Warbucks role. If Jay-Z was willing to act, it would have leveled that movie up.
So R.I.P. Cameron Diaz, R.I.P.
Rest in peace. If she's retired, I want her to rest.
Yeah, retired in peace, Daniel Day-Lewis. So
he hasn't officially retired before, but like until it's been like a long time, I'm not going to buy that he's actually retired.
Yeah.
Although Phantom Thread is an incredible
Phantom Thread was so good.
Yeah, masterpiece.
Phantom Thread masterpiece, downright masterpiece.
Oh.
And but what can you do? But anyway, we should get on to the review of Galaxy of Fear.
How much you want to bet that this is going to be a much longer part of the show?
I agree, because the listeners don't know this, but like we did not enjoy reading this book at all.
We'll talk about it after the break, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned for Spore, a.k.a. Bore.
Oh. Welcome back to Padawan Library. I'm Tim May, here, as always, with Levi Paratic.
Boo!
So scary. All right, so a couple things. This book is called Spore. This book is part of the Galaxy of Fear series. This book is written by John Whitman.
Correct.
It's the 9th book in the Galaxy of Fear series. All right, so I'm very excited. I'll say something. I started reading this book when I woke up this morning around like 5 a.m. I was like, I'm going to get the book done early. I read 2 chapters, and I was like...
That is unusual for you.
Wait, I read 2 chapters, and I said, you know what? I'm going to check to see if, any podcasts came out that I listened to, or I'm going to watch ESPN for a minute. And that took me through the next 6, 7, 8 hours. And then I got to about 2 hours before recording. I was like, I guess I got to finish this book. So I went back to the book, kept reading, read for a long time, probably had about 40 pages left. Got a phone call at the house phone. Mm-hmm. And, it was a guy. It was just like, hey, I'm doing some polling. Would you like to participate in a poll? An opinion poll. And I was like, you know what? I need a break from this book. So I'm going to participate in an opinion poll. And I talk shit on my state senator that I hope gets voted out in November, Dan Laughlin. Fuck Dan Laughlin. If you live in the area, vote for Julie Slomsky, please. All right. And then, that took like 15 minutes. And then I was refreshed. I was like, I'm getting back into this book. And I almost fell asleep. I came very close to falling asleep. And I finished the book. But I have to say, the boredom was huge. The Spore-dom was real. The Spore-dom was real.
I'll tell you my journey with this book is I of course went back to my job on Monday, and so I was like, well, I got to start this book Monday, I got to do this. So I woke up early that day. Woke up at 6:30, read chapter 1. Next day, woke up early again, read 2 chapters. Wednesday, had to wake up early. It got harder to wake up early on Wednesday. Read a couple more chapters. This morning, I woke up. I had to literally drag myself out of bed to read the book this morning. I had 80 pages when I started this morning. I read 40 before I left for work, and then I got back from work and had to read the last 40. And it was a struggle, and we were going to record at 5 o'clock, and I had to text you, and I was like, I need a few more minutes. Yeah, I got 2 chapters left.
We had to give you like 10 minutes. It was... Listen. I think we've been mostly fairly positive on the series. Mm-hmm. It's fine. This book, I don't want to discount the notion that maybe this is just a huge come down from last week. You know, when we had the culmination of everything we love.
Mm-hmm.
And this was kind of just another Galaxy of Fear book. However,
that's what it is. It's another Galaxy of Fear book. We're going through the motions on Galaxy of Fear, and I hope this whole month is not like that.
I cannot believe this series went 12 books.
Right?
This series went 12... I mean, listen, I know different regimes, different publisher, totally different, 10 years earlier. But the fact that this series got 12 and Last of the Jedi got 10 is disrespectful.
Now, in Last of the Jedi's defense, she already had 30 previous books on top of that. But yeah, I agree. But these books must have sold well.
I'm sure they did. It was the peak of Goosebumps. Well, maybe not the peak, but it was near the peak of Goosebumps. Mm-hmm. And listen, they're not even that bad. Some of them I've really enjoyed on some.
I don't know if we mentioned this book series started in '97, and this book I think came out in '98. So April '98.
So around Goosebumps 2000 time at this point. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That was a big fucking deal, man.
It was.
All the book orders were going fucking crazy. The front page of every book order. Anyway,
but
I know. I think everybody I know got a copy of that first Goosebumps 2000 book, and then never another Goosebumps 2000 book. Does that make sense?
That makes total
sense.
Because
everyone I knew had dozens of real Goosebumps books, original series. But 2000, even though it's probably exactly the same, same quality level, I'm sure. People were just like, nah, it's not the same anymore.
Something we should, and the funny thing you mentioned that, of course, Goosebumps, Scholastic, the Jude Watson series of books are all Scholastic books.
Right.
However, these books, these earlier Star Wars, Bantam, yep, and so is Jedi Prince is also under Bantam, and so is
Junior Jedi Knights.
Junior Jedi Knights.
Which we will be doing in the new year, probably.
Yes.
But I think there's, listen, I
this was a by the numbers.
I don't want to be too negative. It's not like, listen, if you are a kid who likes Star Wars and likes vaguely spooky things, and if you're the target audience for the book, I'm sure it was fine. But and we're not, and our audience isn't.
I think we're being hard on it. I did think it was a fine book, but it did bore the hell out of me.
Yeah, okay, so let's just we're not going to go super deep on this book, honestly, but we should talk a little bit about what it is.
Okay. Broadly in this book is the fact that they go to, is it Lithoria?
Ithoria.
Lithoria, which is home of the Lithorians, which are famously
not Lithorians,
Ithorians.
Ithorians.
Okay.
Yeah. Ithorians, if you want to go.
Hammerhead is the street term for them.
Yeah,
or the Kenner term for them.
They also refer to them that way on the way in.
They do. So anyway, they go there. Of course, this is Tash, Zach, and Uncle Hool. DV, of course, cast aside for no reason. I kind of miss DV. Not that DV ever added anything to the series,
but it's just weird. Doesn't make any sense.
John Whitman just outright abandoned him for no reason. Anyway, so they go to Ithoria. They meet a character by the name of Fandor. They then end up going to an asteroid where they meet
Fandor?
I think it is Fandor.
I feel like it might be. I don't have the book in front of me, so
hang on. I did take notes. I'm Fandomar.
Fandomar, yeah, that's Fandomar. What I knew it was slightly different. Okay. Not that it matters, but yeah.
Not that it matters. They go to an asteroid where there's a tomb.
There's a mining colony that owns this tomb. They want to open this door inside the tomb, but it's might be a sacred thing. They open the door, and and they find, oh shit, there's the Imperial people there, including a character named Jarek, who you have some information on.
Okay, so Jarek, I'm surprised you didn't know this. Jarek is the villain of Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight.
See, I've never played the Dark Forces games. That's like a big 90s EU blind spot for me.
Well, Dark Forces, the first game is interesting because it's just a knockoff of Doom. Yeah. And then as the games went, because it was a first-person shooter, eventually the games, which of course led into like Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, and Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, which is mostly the Kyle Katarn arc.
Right.
They eventually became third-person games.
By the way, that one YouTuber that loves the EU that I was making fun of a few weeks ago, I remember the last video I think I saw of him was when the Rogue One trailer came out. He put out something that says, like, I don't need to know about how the Death Star plans were how the Death Star plans were found. Have you ever heard of Kyle Katarn? And I just remember say that for the next 2 weeks or something.
Oh,
sorry.
But I have no beef with Kyle Katarn. I've played some of those games. He's fine. But Jarek is a villain from Dark Forces 2, and that game famously had live action cutscenes in it. So there's footage of. So that's kind of cool about the game. However. So I looked up Jarek to make sure that this is the same guy who shows up. You remember, last book we had Thrawn, which was cool. Jarek is basically just a placeholder for Thrawn. However, in the expanded universe of Jarek, Jarek was a Jedi Knight. And Jarek had a very famous master. Jocasta Nu. I know.
What?
Head librarian of the Padawan Library.
I did not imagine him as that old.
They made him that old apparently, and he's also not human. Apparently, he's like blind, that kind of thing. I didn't really look into his expanded universe. I was really just kind of quickly scrolling through his Wikipedia page. But in the Legends canon, Jarek was the apprentice of Jocasta Nu. So.
Can't believe it.
Yep.
Wow.
But anyway, they released the Spore, which then leads Tash and Zack having to escape it. The Spore is like a hive mind. The Spore is a person, I guess, and he infects a host, and then he infects other people, and then they all share the same collective consciousness.
So the Spore infects Uncle Hool, Zack, and a bunch of these miners, by the way, like this from this mining colony. And
right.
And then a bunch of crazy shit happens. They think that what's her face, the Ithorian.
They think she's a murderer, but really she's like she's trying to stop Spore because Spore was in prison. We find out later that the Spore is a result of the Ithorians' gene splicing, and they were gene splicing plants together and stuff, and that's how Spore was created.
It was 400 years earlier. 400
years earlier, and a Jedi Knight came to help stop it. So that was fun, little world building there. But when Spore infects a person, they can shoot tentacles out of eyes and mouths. And this kind of made me think of Invasion of the Body Snatchers in a way.
One of the greatest movies ever made, by the way.
I agree.
The 70s one, although I like the original too. But.
Yeah. I mean, frickin' Donald Sutherland at the end of that movie is iconic.
Maybe one of the best endings ever, period. Mm-hmm. I love that movie, man. I don't know. It's my favorite Goldblum performance, probably. That, or The Fly is, but it's my second favorite. Mm-hmm. And, I love Nimoy, of course. Nimoy is like a 70s self-help guru. Is just delightful. What a great movie. And they're watching...
Goldblum.
What's up?
Goldblum recently showed up in an episode of King of the Hill I watched, and it was such a good episode. Basically, he was like a con man who sold Peggy her own PhD. And then she had to con him back, and the way she at first she thinks she's defeated, but really she conned him, and it was so classic.
Oh, man. Wild shit. So anyway, anytime there's anything like this, I always think of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Okay.
What happens then? Like it infects a bunch of people that are on a star. Or it gets onto this Star Destroyer,
right? Because this is where the Jarek has, he doesn't want to be the Emperor's servant. He wants the Empire to be his servant. So he makes a deal with Spore. Hey, I want to let you on this Star Destroyer. You infect everybody as long as you're my slave. And the only reason Spore agrees to this is because Jarek has the dark side, and he can't infect Jarek because the dark side with Jarek is too strong.
Yeah. It's,
What? Enthusiasm.
Yeah, listen. So yeah, and then, Tash and the Ithorian woman basically blow up the Star Destroyer in some fashion.
They lead it through an asteroid field, and the space slugs attack it.
Alright, and yes, and it blows up. And then Hool and Zach, etc., they're all back to normal, so they assume Spore has been destroyed. But then there's a stupid epilogue where the Spore is actually...
It's waiting, because Spore can't, infect people in the vacuum of space, so it's just sitting in this Star Destroyer, which just so happens to be, being salvaged by salvagers at the moment, so...
Listen, it's,
Oh my goodness! Can you imagine it had that Star Destroyer crashed on Jakku, and Rey had salvaged it, and she got infected by Spore, and it would have been totally different. But so the one thing's, because we're pretty much wrapped up with this book, and we're only 15 minutes in.
What are you gonna do?
What are you going to do? But however, Tash does use the Force. I feel like Tash's Force connection is getting stronger.
Is kind of the big important thing here, because the Spore tries to convince her that the Spore connection is stronger than the Force, and that's why she should join the Spore. It's and that was kind of a compelling idea, but not played with very much.
No,
and,
no. The most compelling part is the fact that the trees on Ithoria have they're sentient. And Tash can communicate with them in a way, they can sense her, they can send her messages of danger or run, and that's part of her Force connection, is that she can communicate with these trees. And then at one point she successfully navigates an asteroid field. Is that Woody? Who is that?
I don't know who this is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the listeners. I was holding up to Levi some head that I found on the ground of an action figure of some sort. It is a guy with a hat, not a cowboy hat. He's very goofy looking. I'll take a picture and you can post it on the Instagram.
Okay, sounds good. I'll put it in the collage for the week, and people will be like, "What is that?" But yeah. So I feel like by the end of the series, but here's the thing.
Okay.
This series should have never resolved Borgamus Bog.
I agree.
Bog.
Or whatever.
And it should have never resolved the Hool mystery.
I agree. And they should have been suspicious of Hool all the way through.
Yeah. Hool is, and where it
Hool
sits
is
now,
completely uninteresting now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
They made Hool a Nazi war criminal, and then completely brushed it off. He's at best Werner von Braun. That's the best case scenario, where it's
he's the Nazi war criminal, but
but
I guess maybe he became a decent guy later.
Yeah, but none of it is important now. The fact that we know, it doesn't matter. So
it doesn't matter.
And we've been coasting on these standalone stories for, 3 books now?
Hopefully there's an arc. It doesn't have to be an arc, but hopefully there's some momentum building into the last book.
I agree.
Next week,
I hope so too.
I kind of now am man, it would have been better to end our season with Last of the Jedi. I'm not saying I don't want to do these next few episodes. I'm just saying if we had worked out the schedule so that it would have, maybe would have been better, but... Mm-hmm. Whatever.
However, we will tell the listeners this. We are going to do a casting of Galaxy of Fear.
At some point this month, we'll figure out which episode. But
right, and now we haven't discussed this in person. We've only discussed this in text. Do you agree that we should cast it as a '90s television show?
Like a kind of WB era?
Yeah, WB would be perfect for Galaxy of Fear.
They're a little too young for like the classic WB kids.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, something like that. That seems good. I've seen basically the full run of every significant show of that era. So I have a deep knowledge of the deep bench of every cast. So I feel
and also too, I brought this up to you, and I'll bring this up to the listeners now too.
Oh, now I know who I want for Hool. He's just in my head now.
Oh damn! I've been trying to think about Hool forever.
I feel like we might have the same idea.
Is it a Buffy character? Is it a Buffy character? Oh
no shit!
Oh shit! That's such a good hole. But this series, this series is reliant on the heroes of Star Wars, and
so we get to recast them from that.
We get to recast them as TV series because we know none of them except Peter Mayhew, Kenny Baker are coming back.
Could even come back, just age-wise. So.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So we'd want to have age appropriate for the late 90s? Is that
yes.
Okay. That's actually a lot of fun. That's a fun idea. Okay. And I'm gonna cast entirely from that pool, that era. It's gonna be mind-blowing.
It's gonna be so hard to cast Han Solo, but that's gonna be great.
That's impossible. That's the one that's genuinely impossible. I already have an idea for Luke, so...
oh, damn.
Right.
Damn.
I'm excited. We'll do this next week. Let's do it next week.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so...
we should give our midi-chlorian ranking on this book.
Listen, it's like a straight up 2. It sucks.
Tim, I couldn't agree more.
I couldn't agree Spore.
Oh, damn. Hot damn. Oh, taking a page from the Book of Saw, this series is spiraling.
All right. So that's it, man. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. If you want to see that action figure head, you'll have to go there. And to Instagram. And email us. Do that. I don't know when we're going to do that episode. Maybe sometime during the hiatus. That might be a good.
Okay, yeah.
Break up
because we could do that with a Mando episode.
That might be a good idea. So, keep emailing us. We'll try to have a nice big mailbag at some point. All right.
So until the books are due back,
the library is closed.